What does it take to win an Olympic gold or get drafted to the NFL? That's what we find out in this episode of the Brolletts Pod. Today we talk with Coach Kav, who is one of the top speed and performance trainers in the world. In this episode, we talk about the mindset of a champion, how he trains them, and how to build a personal brand as an athlete today. Can't wait for you to see this episode with Coach Kav.
Before we jump into this episode of the Brolletts Podcast, I want you guys to subscribe to our brand new newsletter, the Athlete Creator Club. If you are an athlete who wants to build your brand in 2025, this is the newsletter that you have to read. Every week, we're breaking down playbooks from some of the top athletes in the world, like Tom Brady and Russell Westbrook and Pat McAfee, as well as college athletes like you've seen on this show, like Jay Bryson Webb or Max Freeze. Every week, you get a step-by-step playbook to help you develop content and grow your brand. And guess what? It's all free. All you need to do is go to Brolletts.com. The link is somewhere below this video. You can join the newsletter for free. Now, here's what we're going to do because I want to bribe you to join the newsletter. I'm going to give you a pair of Arate shades as I take them off of Colton's head. We're going to give you the Playmaker absolutely free. We're going to do a drawing. Everyone who joins the free newsletter at Brolletts.com is going to be entered to win a free pair of Arate shades. We're going to hook you up with the Playmaker. You could buy them for $40 or you can win them for free. Athlete Creator Club, join the newsletter. Now let's jump into this episode with Coach Kav.
You've said that self-awareness is the number one key to success as an athlete. Why do so many athletes struggle with this?
I think they struggle because they live in an identity that is in their mind, but not in reality yet. And in a lot of ways, it's actually what makes people really successful. Because if you're a bit delusional, you could believe something that most people have never done before you is possible for you. So it allows you to like start thinking about what is almost possible, but hasn't happened yet. Whereas framing everything in this idea of impossible, and then you're already starting, behind everybody else mentally. So I think more importantly than anything else is that you got to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then who are you going to call when things get tough? Mm-hmm. But self-awareness is by far the number one rule. Like I would say if I broke it down into 3 areas that an athlete needs to have is number 1, they need to have self-awareness. All right. Number 2, they need to know their role. They got to know their role in an environment. I've been an All-American in an environment. I go to another level and I'm like bottom of the totem pole. So I got to know my role with each locker room. You go from one team to a superstar, you get another contract, part of your life changes and you're now maybe like a second coach, right? You're not necessarily the dude anymore. So you have to know your role. And then number 3 is you got to know like situational awareness. You have to know like in those moments, how do you need to show up? How do you need to present? You do that, you could preserve your long, athletic career. If not, you're going to have these like ups and then downs.
3 great keys.
My dad talks about you all the time. What do you actually do, and how do you help athletes reach the top?
Well, let's just start with the fact that your dad's probably saying some really smart things if he's talking about me. And a lot of people don't know this, but for probably a good 3 to 5 years, he pushed me to stop being under the radar. And I want to kind of put this out there because I think it's actually really important. My first product that we built, which was like the All-American Recruiting Playbook, and I'm confident that, over 20 years, I put more people into college through sports than most anybody else. And that happened from actually being in your dad's studio in the office and believe it or not having much to say. I would freeze up and he'd be like, no, just do this. And he'd interrupt me and kind of smack me through. And it's I believe everybody needs a coach because people need to see something in you that you don't see in yourself. And it wasn't in the area of sports performance. It wasn't in the area of mental performance. It was in the area of branding. It was in the area of taking what I was already doing. And instead of being like the dirty little secret that nobody wants to talk about, but being somebody's secret weapon. And that was what I was for a lot of athletes, but I didn't want to be known for that because it was like, hey, I didn't do that. Like as an athlete, I worked hard. I get the result. I get to stand on the podium. But as a coach, I'm just a piece of that puzzle. So what I do more than anything is I identify the fact that an athlete is in point A. They want to get to point B. And they're going to actually, unfortunately, beat themselves up before they achieve it. My job is to build a bridge to help them get there so that they don't have to go through the same pain and agony that a lot of people have gone through before. and that they could actually achieve their dreams, because that's what potential is about. Now, what I've been able to do through, 2 decades now is win, which I don't think a lot of people do. The coaching circle, the athletic competitive circle is very large. Everybody competes, not everybody wins. I've been fortunate enough to win for 2 decades. And the thing that makes somebody a winner is very different than everybody else. Most people are chasing each other to do it better. But in reality, you just need to do it different. The effort of doing something better and different are the same. It's just a matter of actually where your focus is. So that's what I do for athletes, but I've also been able to do that for businesses by getting them to stand out and tell their story, because every athlete has a unique story. But if nobody knows about it, then your lifespan on TV is very short, and you want to have a career that actually has a legacy. So that's what I've been able to do, and it's been fun. It's been fun along the way.
And you're really good at it. I was hoping you were going to brag a little bit, like NFL athletes, professional baseball players, Olympians, Paralympians, people that stand on the podium, like you said, winners. And I think that's a big distinction, because there's so many people who can, wake up early at 6 a.m. and get you to train and lift weights or run faster. But to get you to win that next tier higher from elite to ultra elite, and one of the ways you help people to win, I love this. You've talked about this in a couple podcasts you've been on, is finding fuel on an empty tank. Because a lot of these people are running on fumes, man, because they're burning the candle at both ends. They're flying all around the country. How do the best athletes tap into that? And how do you help them to tap into that? Because there's a lot of mornings I don't want to wake up and go to work. You probably don't either. You'd rather stay at home, hang out with your kids. I'd rather hang out with him and go in the back. But we have to find that fuel even when we don't want to.
I think that's the competitive spirit. A winner is about finding it when you can't, when it's not there, because that's when you know what you're actually made of. Every person wants to actually find their limit and push themselves to it. And if you don't get the opportunity to do that, you feel like you have more. You have more in the tank, but you're never able to press the gas because you don't know what to do. So you have to have an opportunity first and foremost to be able to find that. And you look at it, what are the best stories that we know? Michael Jordan's flu game, right? We talk about, we got blood on the sock, thrown in the world, in MLB. Yep. We have all of these comeback stories. Why are they exciting? Is because we're playing into that story, and there's adversity that's there. You don't find out who you really are until you're actually tested. And everybody wants to find where their line and their limit is. And the only way to do it is to push that limit every single day. So yes, I am very fortunate to work with the best athletes in the world, but also the best athletes in the world are attracted to me because I believe that they haven't even done their best work yet. And it's this idea of I haven't done it yet. I will do it, and it hasn't happened yet. And the number one way that it will happen for people is that they don't quit. When somebody quits, it's over, because it's so hard to kind of restart that up again. But if I know that I could be hard on an athlete and they show up the next day, then I actually get to be harder on them and I can get more out of them. But if I know that I have to I don't know if they'll show up the next day, I have to pander to them a little bit. I got to bring it down. And as a coach, if I can't bring my 100% effort, then I can't get the most out of them. And I don't get excited. So as an athlete, one of the biggest challenges that I have to you as an athlete is, what are you doing to get the person that's helping you the most excited to work with you? And some of that is when a coach sees that you're on an empty tank, that you're saying, hey, we don't know where the actual fuel line is until we're completely out of gas. How many of you have actually went to the point where you have no fuel left? And you don't know that until you actually are reaching your limit.
That's good.
You've worked with Olympic level athletes who have not made the cut and others who rise to the podium. What's the biggest difference between these two groups?
DNA. They got better genetics. Mom and dad, they did a good thing, and they got cool. They got cool kids that are fast and strong. And then the other part is, people will sacrifice their own goal doing something that they know internally is not what's best for them, because it's the way that it was always done, or it's the way in which that their coach is saying that they should do it. A lot of athletes, they will they're in an environment that is not set up for them to win. Well, if you want to achieve Olympic greatness, if you want to achieve like your limit in sport, but you're not around greatness, how do you get to set an example? How do you have something that is going to like set the precedent in your life for how you should act if you don't even know what it's like? So surround yourself with people that have been where you want to go, that know the pain and the path, so that when you don't know what's around the corner, they could warn you and they know it's coming. So then now you're more prepared for it. And then every time you kind of lean off to the side of the road, they kind of knock you back on because they're guardrails in your life. But if the people that are knocking you back have never been to where you want to go, they're potentially the thing that's like dragging you off the road. And they don't even know it because they've never been there. You don't want to be going on a journey with somebody that is just as lost as you.
Man, that's good. And that's why you want to surround yourself. I think it's like twofold, right? Is you got to find the coaches, the mentors, the trainers who have been there, right? And have coached other people to get there. And I think that's what I love about your coach, right? With Ken Kelly, is like, he's been a World Series champion as a kid in the Little League World Series. He's coached a college World Series championship. He's played in the college World Series. He's been there. And so when he asks you to do something, you don't question it because he's never been there before. And like, that's a big piece of it. And then second is, you want to surround yourself and train with the best of the best. Kav, we say it all the time. Like, I always want to be the dumbest person in a room. Like when I walk into a mastermind group, like I want to surround myself with people who are 1, 2, 3, 5 rungs above me so that I can rise with them. I don't always want to be the smartest person in the room. And sometimes that happens when, I get asked to speak to a group, but like when I'm entering a room, I want to learn and be around the best. And I think that's what you've channeled in what you do and how you coach and train people, is you surround your athletes with other great athletes. And then you and your team are the best of the best. Like, talk about just, again, we've all heard that quote, right? Like, you're the 5 people you surround yourself with is who you become. But in athletics and in greatness, you don't want to train with the person that you beat every single day in a 100-meter dash, right? You want to train with a person who is either here or here or here. Like, so they're pushing you, like you said, to those limits.
So what happens in practice, which is where you gain the most progress in sport, is you need to fail in practice. The difference between me and most coaches is that I am willing to fail faster than most every other coach you've ever met. The difference is I will fail when no one's looking and not, it won't affect my ego, so that when the lights are on and it's game on, we're going to kick your ass. But the thing is, we're not able to do that if we're not willing to actually have some hard moments in training and in practice. So what we do is we're always finding environments that challenge us. So if we have an athlete, let's talk about speed for a second. And I train the fastest athletes in the world. And we have somebody who's the best starter in the world. You got Jason Rogers, right? 3-time Olympian, 4th, 5th fastest guy that came out of Tokyo. Fastest start, right? Sue came out and beat him in a quarterfinal out of the start. And I was like, that will never happen again. He needed that like juice to do it. Boom, semifinals, but man, kid shot out of the cannon. We pair that up with another athlete who's got really good acceleration, but not as quick reaction time, not as quick of a start, or not as good as top speed. And what happens is during a certain phase of their training, somebody's significantly better than you. And then that's the area where you want to be challenged and worked on. And then in the other area, we'll set up training to where they have the advantage, and then the other person has the disadvantage. And then that's part of the work. And it's those, you actually want to find and feed the ego of the athlete in practice, not in competition. Because in practice, you want them to be a little bit emotional. In competition, emotion will derail you. You got to be able to control it. And more so than control, you have to be able to release it in the right direction. Because sometimes when you control things, it limits the effort that you put in because you feel like you have to be accurate and perfect. But in reality, the more relaxed you are, the better you are. So we challenge you in practice in environments where you're not always the strongest, with people that are always better than you. And you could take the strongest athlete in the world, the fastest athlete in the world, the more agile athlete in the world, put them in the same training session, and you get them to win, you get them to compete, and then you get them to lose in all 3 different areas, but everybody got better. Environment always wins.
So true.
Let's talk anxiety versus adrenaline. How can athletes channel adrenaline instead of anxiety?
The day that I don't have butterflies in my stomach when an athlete gets on the line or they get inside the ropes or the whistle blows or the gun goes off is the day that I'll stop coaching. Because if you're not a little bit stressed, a little bit, tightened up in the stomach and feel that like you're on a high rise looking down and that feeling, if you don't have that feeling, then you don't love it or you don't care about it enough. Pressure bursts pipes. It's exactly the thing that you need in your life because pressure also makes diamonds. And it's what conditions are you under to get the most out of you? When you step up to a plate, people ask me when I was like a kid, what was your favorite count? Everyone would be like, cool. Like I used to be like, I love 3-2 because it's like, I gotta do it. Or I love 2-2. Like, yeah, I could take a ball, boom, but I have to, forces me to swing. And then I've learned like, actually like, clean slate. I get to show up and start. So sometimes you navigate the environment to create a situation that is pressure for you so that you feel like you need to bring more energy and focus. What happens when you get on the line is that you will have anxiety if you overthink, or you'll have adrenaline if you take that level of energy at the neuroscience level and you have focus. So if you are distracted, you'll have anxiety. If you are laser focused, you're going to have that feeling of adrenaline and you're going to be able to put all of the power right behind that one area. And then you're going to shoot out of it like a cannon. But you got to decide, where do you want that pressure in your life? That's the key.
Speed is king in almost every sport. You've trained some of the fastest men in the world. What don't young athletes know about speed training?
Speed is a skill. If you want to get better at it, you have to learn how to do it. Your body craves biomechanical truths, meaning if you're out of alignment, if you're doing things that's not sound from a physics standpoint, it's going to hold you back. The opportunity for injury goes up. The ability for performance goes down if you're not in a biomechanically sound position. So it's a skill. You could learn it. And also you could develop it as well. So not only is it as a skill at the technical level that you could actually work on, but it's also something that you could develop if you're not maybe gifted athletically or from a muscle fiber standpoint. It is something that you could develop. Being fast is also a mindset. You're going to get faster by doing two things: chasing after something or being chased. That's it. So decide, where do you want to be? Do you want to be you want to be the rabbit, or do you want to be the cat? Make a decision, because if you're always chasing after something, then you know what it's like to come from behind. But if you're always running away from something, you don't know what it's like to actually have the pressure to catch up if you're in a bad position. So you have to be able to do both.
What are the biggest mistakes you see college and pro athletes making in their speed training?
They don't do it first. It's the wrong sequence. So they're so used to, in American sports, the answer is getting stronger. But if I can't hit you, if I can't catch you, then it doesn't matter how big and strong I am. So where you're doing the sequencing matters more than what you are doing. So you want to actually have speed first in your program. And you need to do that year round. It's just a matter of the volume and the intensity that you do. Most people have too much volume or they have too much intensity. So the ability to spread that out over time is really important.
So if I want to go out and get faster this afternoon, what should I do first?
3 things. Whenever you learn a new skill, first thing is technique, number 1. Second thing is tempo, rhythm, dancing, like move to a beat, like music. There's a difference between music and noise. Are you just banging all over the place, doing a lot of stuff, going nowhere fast? Or are you able to have a rhythm and it's consistent? So technique, tempo, then speed. The key to speed is the ability to slow it down and speed it up. So if you could control what you're doing, or is everything full go? Because if everything's full go, you're going to be going from, let's say you're a car and you're only able to go 50 miles an hour, and you go from 0 to 50, and you just go 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. But if you actually learn to use the same amount of energy to do 30 and the same technique to do 30 miles an hour, and then you turn it on and you don't get out of alignment, you'll probably be able to do 55. And then if you're able to use the same energy to get to 55 that you are using in 50, you could probably get to 60. Then you could probably get to 70. So the ability to slow down to speed up is really, really important. And then just remember technique, tempo, and speed.
Technique, tempo, speed.
You've trained countless guys from the NFL Combine and high school kids to play college ball. What's the biggest difference between the guys who make it and the guys who don't?
Excuses. It's someone else's fault. It happened to me. It happens to everybody. There's people that if you believe a story, it will be true twice. The first in your head and the second in your life. Then you have to decide which story do you want to believe. Most people will rely on other people's story in their life versus actually creating the story. And if you know your role, you can make it in the NFL. Most of those guys are good enough, but they're not better than another guy that got cut. How is it that guy made the team and we missed on some of these great players and they dropped in the draft? Somebody got fired because a 5th round or 6th round pick beat them in a game the next year. Some, scout didn't do their job. Well, that athlete knew who he was and he wasn't going to get cut. And then when he showed up, he was ready. Preparation is not a matter of it's not a matter of when the opportunity comes, because there's no such thing as a good or a bad opportunity. It's the preparation for that opportunity that matters. So the more prepared you are, the better opportunities will come. The issue with a lot of athletes that don't make it is they start training when the opportunity presents itself. The athletes that almost always make it are prepared. So every single time a door opens, just a crack, they're able to kick it down because they're prepared for it.
When do they, do athletes understand that? Is that something that could be trained? Is that like, I'm in high school, I'm really good, I'm throwing touchdowns all day, it comes natural and easy to me. Is there a switch that kicks on? Is that just innate and built into them? I mean, I'm sure you've seen so many guys who are super talented and you're just like, they don't have it, right? And there are other people that do. Is that something that you as a coach can train into them or kick into them? Or does that need to be innate inside of themselves?
There has to be enough pain for them to feel it and realize, I don't want to let this happen to me again. Or they need to actually be listening to their parents when it doesn't matter. Because when it does matter, they become the boy that cried wolf. Mom and dad say something to them over and over and over again, but they do it for them. Mom and dad can't do your push-ups for you. Mom and dad can't do the other stuff for you. So the ability for you to throw out the trash every day before it gets full versus before mom saying, hey, I need you to throw out the trash, for you start to recognize that, the better it is. But what happens is you're always being nagged to throw out the trash once it's already full. You as an athlete need to be able to recognize when the can of garbage in your life is getting filled up and you need to take it out. And most of the time, the can of garbage is actually the circle of friends that don't want to go where you want to go, that you're hanging around.
That's big.
Athletes today have a massive opportunity to build their brand, but they can't get distracted. How can they balance growing their influence without losing focus on the craft?
Winning will build your brand faster than losing. So if they focus on their skill, they focus on getting better, and they actually are really, really good, then they're going to be pretty all right. How many interviews have you heard of Shohei Ohtani? How many interviews have you heard from him that probably not that many. He ain't talking. Mm-hmm. Right. He's speaking pretty good with that bat though, right? That's very loud. So what do you want your brand to be known for? Charismatic, personality, cool person, whatever it may be. That's wonderful. But you're only going to be interesting when you're winning. Nobody goes and interviews the last place guy. So in order to get that mic, in front of you, you got to win. Now, what do you do when you're there is a little different. I'll give you a great example. Nick Mayhew was friends with a guy named Cabby, the TikToker that does this. That was what he was friends with the guy. They lived together in Milan. Nick was teaching him English. This guy's world famous on TikTok and Instagram for just doing this. Okay. So what does Nick do? He goes up there, getting ready to run, right? Wins a gold medal. Right at the end of the finishing line, he could barely breathe. He could barely talk because he's exhausted. So instead of talking, he just goes like this. And then he walks away. And that relationship, and then Cabby actually reposting that. And then there's a video of me and Cabby and Nick together. And it's like, there's a backstory. And then you kind of intersect that. And then what ends up happening, it gains traction. But I mean, if Nick would have taken last place and done like this, everyone would have went like, I would have looked at him in the stands and went like this. What do you want me to do? You got your butt kicked. So the fact that he was able to do it when the lights were on, super important. The second thing, this is tough because it's actually what causes a lot of athletes to not achieve their best, but it's a cool factor. If you're cool, you're going to get a lot more attention. So for me, right, like I got to be cool. Like I may not be that cool, but when I put these on, I'm a lot cooler. It's just a reality. So you got to decide, who do you want to be? Are you that good that there's nothing of interest to you and you're solely focused? That's not that exciting.
Right.
But something that makes you like a winner is exciting if there's a cool factor attached to it. So there's got to be something unique. There's got to be a level of like care and direction, of like discipline that makes you the best in the world at what you do. But you got to connect with people, because everybody wants to buy into a story. Everybody wants to buy into an athlete story. So what about you makes me want to buy a ticket to the show? What about you makes me want to root for you versus somebody else? We are rooting for athletes that are not even on our favorite teams. If you look at the difference between the sport of boxing, UFC, and the sport of football. In football, you're a fan of a team. Yeah, you may have your favorite player, but you're really a fan of a team. And in fighting, you're either a Mayweather fan or you're a Pacquiao fan. That's it. So no matter where he goes, no matter where he fights, you are following the actual individual. In basketball, you're a LeBron fan, you're a Kobe fan, you're an MJ fan. LeBron bounces around wherever he needs to go. And doesn't matter what color is the jersey, if it says James in the back and 23, people are going to wear it. Mm-hmm. So they went from being Kav fans to being, Heat fans, to being Laker fans, to being back to Kav fans, all because they followed the individual. So if you don't have a personal brand that has a cool factor, then we're going to have an issue. So you want people to be a part of your journey, and you want people to be inspired. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you're successful, because not many people want to follow the guy that's never won anything. I feel cooler right now. I'm going to do the rest of the interview with these glasses. I understand I'm not the cool coach, but I probably am going to do that.
Hey, I love it, man. Keep those glasses on. I want to stay on this for a second, but I want to now frame it in the terms of Olympics, because you do a lot with Olympic guys, Paralympic guys, and gals. This is interesting because NFL football is year round now, right? It's you play the season, then you go into draft, and then you go into free agent. Like, it's literally year round. Olympics is once every 4 years. And then maybe you get something every 2 years with some of the world championships and things. They've been training for their whole life for potentially 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes of airtime. And they want to capitalize on that, right? There's not a ton of money in track and field compared to like major sports. What do you talk about with these guys about, like, hey, you have to be the best 400-meter hurdle guy in the entire world. That has to be number one. But because you're the best in the world, you've got an opportunity to capitalize on this and change your life for the rest of your life. This is tough because they have to be the best in the world. They can't be even a tenth of a second slower than the second fastest guy. But at the same time, if they win gold 2 weeks later, no one remembers who they are if they don't do the branding side right. This is tough, but I know this is the world you live in.
Yeah, I think brand is everything. So in business, you don't have a business unless you have a brand. You know, you may have a product, you may have a service, but if you don't have an actual brand, then you don't have a reputation. Your brand is your digital reputation. It's what other people are saying about you based upon what how you're showing up online, unless they've had an experience with you. We've all had times where we've met an athlete and it changed our perspective of things because he talked to us, he had a conversation with us, and it really was like exciting. But that's a one-to-one experience. But when you're online and you're a global recognized athlete, it's your digital reputation, and that is your brand. And in order to gain attention to your brand, you have to send signals, not noise. Noise is a lot of stuff. Signals is very specific. So what about you is different than everybody else? And it's like, maybe it's controversy. Maybe it's your cool shoes that you wear. For me, it's the cool glasses I wear. So I wish I had a full set of hair like this guy in front of me. That would be a problem. You know, I wish. Trust me, I make fun of everybody that's got lacrosse hair and lettuce and all that flow. Why? Because I'm a little jealous. Trust me, I would much prefer to swap heads with you in a heartbeat. So my way of dealing with it is just giving you a hard time because I wish I had it. You know, my son to this day is like, oh, you look just like me. And he's like, no, I don't, Daddy. I have a full set of hair and it ain't going anywhere. I'm like, you're killing me. But what is that? That cool factor is his confidence. That confidence is something that other people could actually buy into. And if you are a quiet winner and you're humble about it, unfortunately, no one's going to remember you. Right. So instead of thinking about it as saying like, oh, I have to be humble through my process, start thinking about it and saying, the more quiet I am and the more humble I am, the less people I could impact. What is the real reason why you're doing your best? Something in you made you, want to be the best that you could be as an athlete. So the real question I have for you is, do you want your story to end the minute your career ends? Or do you want every experience that someone comes involved in your brand to be a legacy that other people could live on? That's the challenge that I would give to a very successful athlete that's just quietly winning. Because the minute your career is over, nobody remembers you.
It's so big. Don't be a quiet winner. And you said it really, really great right there at the end, is that you're at the peak of your influence while you're playing, right? 3 years after your career ends, no one cares that you were the backup fullback for the Denver Broncos, right? It's while you are there. I got one more for you. Colt's got some rapid fire. We'll let you get back to your day. But I want you to put on your Coach Kav hat. You are Coach Kav right now, business coach, elite athlete, performance coach. What advice do you have for my man over here as he continues to build his brand on and off the field?
Never do another interview with all those glasses on. Yeah, I would say number one is, what separates you from everybody else? Your dad has a lot of unknown skills to the world, but he's one of the best direct response copywriters that I've ever met. He has never froze when he asked a question. So he's like, give me the topic. And he could actually work in so many different industries and disciplines because he understands conceptually what something does, but he understands that the gap between where somebody is and where they're going doesn't need to be a huge leap. You could jump over puddles and feel confident that you're not going to get wet. But the minute you try to jump over a lake, you're going to fall right in. So take a step every day that's just a little bit further. Don't try to take this huge leap and then quit because it doesn't work. So it's the consistency every single day. Most people want to have confidence. How do I show up at the plate with confidence? You don't need to have confidence. You need to have courage to do it first. Confidence comes from the experience that you know what you could do. That's the first thing. The next thing in regarding kind of building your brand and where you go from there is find something every single day that is true to you and that nobody has to remind you to do. Because if someone has to remind you to do it, it's a representation of how much they care about it more than you. And if you genuinely care about it more than anybody, because it's yours, then the reminder is actually the issue. It's not the actual fact that you're not doing it, because some people will do it, but they have to be reminded about it. So if you are finding yourself needing to be reminded to do something, then that's a problem.
Good advice.
Yep.
Love it. Let's run into rapid fire, fun part of the show. Cole put these together for you, so I will let him rock and roll.
What's your favorite Olympic moment you've been a part of?
I never walked the opening ceremonies of Olympics, been involved in a lot of them until Tokyo. Walking the opening ceremonies was a huge deal because I represented something bigger than me. And for a long time in my career, I've been in the shadows being very proud of the athlete, but it was one of those moments where, my mom got to see me. It was one of those moments that, people could actually see it. And it was an undeniable truth around 20 years of work. And we all say that, oh, we don't need the recognition as coaches because it's all about the athlete. But in that moment, it was a representation of all of the athletes that I worked with. Like that was there representing one athlete. I was there as a head coach walking, with a country flag representing an athlete's, 10 years of his hard work. But for me, it was a representation of the thousands of athletes that have entrusted me in the journey. And I was walking that for them. It was a representation of my parents putting me in a position that it wasn't easy to, like, they would never let me be in a sport where I was the all-star. They would always say, you're going to go to this program because you need to be here so that you could rise. And that's opening ceremonies, 3-4 hours standing there doing nothing and 30 seconds walking was so worth it, because it was literally the same as my entire coaching journey, which it was the ratio of what no one saw to the ratio of what someone actually saw was the same as the coaching journey. 99% of it is done in the shadows. And it was in that 1% that I realized, like, this wasn't for me, but it was very fulfilling for me because it was a representation of all of the people that entrusted me in the journey.
What a cool moment.
Who's an athlete that you've coached that you're most proud of?
Proud is something that I would say about all of them. There's an individual aspect of their journey that makes them special and unique. The athlete that I will say has made the biggest legacy and impact to me is Johan Blake, for one particular reason. Johan's a better person than he is an athlete, and he's one of the greatest athletes in the world. He feeds and supports over 100 kids a day in his Why Be Afraid Foundation. He supports the mission of bringing healthy, water to certain environments. He takes care of people. He's got a strong faith base, and he does an amazing job. And he does so many things that he doesn't need the credit, because he understands that God's given him ability to get credit when he's actually on the track. So you look at, that athlete that is at the highest level and doing great work behind the scenes. That's amazing. And I'll do anything for athletes like that.
Shout out, Johan.
Who's an athlete you wish you got to coach, but you haven't ever coached him?
Rafael Nadal.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was the one that was, never had an interaction at all. Never had an interaction. So I can't speak for, his personality as human, but when you look at like the way he shows up, there's something about his preparation that is definitely different than what even I'm doing. And I want to see what that's like.
What's a book you think every athlete should read besides Man Up?
There is 2 books that I'm going to give you. In life, every human should read How to Win Friends and Influence People. It should be a non-negotiable book that every person should read. Number 2, every athlete should read Mind Gym. It's a great book for where an athlete needs to be. And the last one, because I told you I'm going to give you 2 books. The last one is not a book. It's the best leadership in the world, and it's the Bible. So those would be the 3 pieces of paper that I would focus on.
Great. Man Up, man, good one. We getting a sequel anytime soon?
It's been fun. So Man Up was my way of giving back to the athletic community, because I wasn't able to spend so much time with the middle school and high school kids of where they were, right? The idea of, the concept came from like grow your balls, right? And it's funny because everyone's like, oh, that Mr. Toughness, whatever. Like, all the female athletes that I have will probably kick the crap out of most of my male athletes, and they loved it. So if you're sensitive to it, get over it. But balance, right? Balance is not about, actually being 50-50. I would argue that if you are 50-50 in what people call harmony or perfect balance, then you are out of balance with what your goals are. Balance is about aligning your actions to your ambitions. And by doing that, that means you got to be all in. Balance is about strategic priorities, meaning I have to get my grades done and school done before I play sports because that's a requirement. That's a strategic priority. For me, sports are more important than school. But if I don't have sports as a higher priority in my life, then I'm not going to be able to do the thing I want to do. A is for accountability. Accountability is about respect. It's about self-respect. It's about honesty. You do what you say. You shake someone's hand, you do it. In business, I've been burned. I've sold businesses. I bought businesses. I've made mistakes myself. But I one of the biggest acquisitions that we did to this day was a company that, unfortunately, once you open the hood, it wasn't what we thought it was. It was completely different. So there's two parts of accountability. Number one, do business with people that you trust. And unfortunately, do due diligence. Trust but verify. I did the first thing, didn't do the second thing. Fault was me. Maturity. Second part is be very, very careful what people say, because not everybody lives by the same level of values. So balance, accountability. Lust. Boy, you got to get excited about it, right? You may run faster just because the girl's looking at you. You may lift a little bit heavier because you want to impress your friends, but it's not going to carry you. Motivation is like showers. John Maxwell said it best. He's like, you know what? You don't need them every day, but if you don't take them for a while, you're going to start to stink. Motivation is actually important. So you have to actually love and lust after what you do. The second L is for love. If you don't love it, you'll only do it when it's convenient. You'll never get good if you're only doing the convenient thing. You have to do the thing that's inconvenient so that you understand the value. And S is for sacrifice. It is not a sacrifice if it's what you want to do. It's a priority. The sacrifices are from other people that have put you in that environment. It's not a sacrifice for me as a dad to be able to go and watch my son. But hopefully from my young sons, and you're older than him, but from Thomas's vantage point, he needs to understand that we made decisions that are a sacrifice for his opportunity. Mm-hmm. But it's actually not a sacrifice for me because it's actually my priority too. But it needs to be received that way. So the idea of man up is a come to Jesus meeting with somebody that's not happy with where they want to be. They're not where they are right now versus where they want to be. And the gap between that, the delta, is balance, accountability, less love, and sacrifice.
So good.
What's the best piece of coaching advice you've ever received?
Don't suck.
We've heard that one before.
Right, that's right.
I mean, seriously, you've done all the work, right? So one of my favorite quotes is by Pat Riley. It says, hard work never guaranteed anything, but without it, you don't have a chance. So you better put hard work. Now you put the right work in and you put hard work in, some good things are going to happen. But you've done all the hard work. If you do the work, when you show up to the plate, you'll be ready to go. So, and then guess what? You make a mistake, suck less. Just suck a little less than you did the last time.
Love that. Well, this interview definitely didn't suck, man. Coach Kav, on all of the socials, anything else you want to point people to? Anything that you're working on? Anything fun coming up this summer? Any good events? Like what you got going on?
Yeah, so super excited. Great. It's a great year. I mean, I got kids that I coached in middle school and high school that are getting ready for the NFL Combine now. I'm in second generation Olympic guy. We have world championships for Paralympics in India, world championships for track in Tokyo this year. We have a great NFL season that we're going to kick off, so I'm super excited about. And I'm excited to see even people like, you look at like a Jason Worth of the world, who had an opportunity to work with his sons, and he's now horse racing and winning these big stakes. So it's cool to see people in different journeys in what they're doing and kind of go from there. From a branding and marketing standpoint, been able to take, the stuff that you've taught me, take the things that I've learned in the world of marketing and bring that to business, right? And helping small business owners win. So we built a company called Sites at Scale that helps with everything from their brand, their marketing, their websites, their CRMs and social media so that they could kind of kick it off. But really what it comes down to is do great work with amazing people, and you're going to have a lot of fun doing it.
It's kind of been my message to him. Fun Jason Worth story. So I think the first time he ever fell in love with baseball, you were what, 3?
Yeah.
3 years old. We went to Vieira for spring training. My wife's brother and Dusty Baker are like best friends. So he invited Colt back into the clubhouse, and Jason Worth, like big shaggy beard and everything, just tossing him up in the air and running around with him. And, I think you got a bat from Daniel Murphy that weekend, and got to see Harper like 2 feet away. And but Jason Worth couldn't have been more nice, more gracious, just super, super cool dude. I mean, dude, dude is tall.
He is massive.
His beard, he's got, a grizzly beard, and just the nicest, most kind-hearted person. But that day, I think, is the day that Colt, decided that baseball's his thing and hasn't looked back since.
Well, Colt, I could tell you this. This is the thing I'm the most proud of is, and I never had the opportunity. I told Jason gave me the one of the greatest compliments ever. He goes, "I wish I met you 5 years ago when I was like kind of getting," and I'm like, that is a great, like, honestly, to someone who's like, I mean, he's I think a second or he's a third generation MLB pro. That's crazy when you think about it. He is the power that he produces is insane. And there's levels to the game. But he's an incredible dad. He's an incredible person. And if you want to talk about somebody who, like, that's who he is, it's like, there's no fake in that guy. Like, he is intense, but he's also so calm because he knows who he is. Like, there's not a lot of moments where he's not himself, and he doesn't have to be, because he's done the work. He's done the work to live a life, in my opinion, from an outsider, that he shows up the same way everywhere. And I think that's a really inspiring thing from a lot of people. And there's the ability, I bet you there's so many stories in there, but there's nobody that I will say that could like light you up and light a baseball up and actually be a certain person off the field that you actually want to embody. And I think that's pretty exciting. When you could find those people, they're special, because the difference in business and sport, and because I'm actually playing on both of those, the last thing I'll leave you with is this. Values and integrity is not a prerequisite in business, but in sport, it's expected. So you do the right thing in sport, wherever you fall, people will honor you for that. But in business, if you cut corners, screw people over, you may make it to the top and people actually praise you because you won. But how you got there isn't actually something that you should be proud of. So if you do the right thing over time, you'll figure it out. But just remember, not everybody has that same value and same character. So that's a decision you have to make, because it's a lot easier to cut quarters and make it.
Sure is. You've been there. I've been there. We've been to events and been around people that have been there. Dude, thank you so much, man. We're way over time. And I just want to say thank you, man. It's been incredible, getting to know you. I mean, it's been at least a decade now, which is just
over that.
It's absolutely crazy. But we appreciate all the support. Thanks for rocking those shades. And we had a blast, man. This was awesome.